Welcome to our channel, A Person Life Cycle. Money is one of the most powerful inventions in human history. We use it every day to buy food, pay rent, earn wages, save for the future, invest, and build businesses. But have you ever stopped to ask, where did money come from? Why does it have value? Why does every country have its own currency? And how can money influence an entire economy? To understand the modern economy, we first need to understand money. Money is not simply paper or numbers in a bank account. It is a system built on trust, exchange, measurement, and confidence. And when money becomes unstable, the effects can spread throughout an entire society. Chapter 1. What is money? Before money existed, people relied on barter. A farmer might have wheat but need shoes. A shoemaker might have shoes but need meat. The problem was simple. What if the other person doesn't want what you have? Money solved this problem. Instead of trading wheat directly for shoes, the farmer could sell the wheat for money and then use that money to buy shoes from someone else. Money became a medium of exchange. But money has three major functions. Medium of exchange. Money makes buying and selling easier. Unit of account. Money gives us a common way to measure value. A phone might cost $800. A car might cost $30,000. A house might cost $300,000. Without money, comparing the value of thousands of products would be extremely difficult. Store of value. Money allows people to transfer purchasing power into the future. You can earn money today and spend it tomorrow. However, inflation can reduce the amount of goods and services that money can buy over time. So money is more than something we carry in our wallets. It is a system that makes modern economic life possible. Chapter 2. The evolution of money. Money evolved over thousands of years. Early societies used things that people considered valuable, including salt, grain, cattle, shells, silver, and gold. Gold and silver eventually became especially important because they were durable, portable, divisible, and scarce. They could be stored and transported without quickly losing their physical qualities. As trade expanded, governments began producing standardized coins with recognized weights and designs. This made transactions easier because people no longer needed to evaluate raw pieces of metal during every trade. But carrying large amounts of metal was still inconvenient. Over time, paper money became a more practical alternative. Eventually, many countries moved away from currencies directly backed by fixed quantities of gold. This helped create the modern system of fiat money. Today, most money exists not because the physical material has great value, but because people trust the monetary system behind it. Chapter 3. Why does money have value? Modern currencies are mostly fiat currencies. A banknote does not have value because the paper itself is worth that amount. A $100 bill is not valuable because its paper is worth $100. Its value comes from the system surrounding it. People accept money because they believe. Other people will accept it. Businesses will accept it. Banks will recognize it. Governments will accept it for taxes and other obligations. And the monetary system will continue functioning. In simple terms, modern money works because people believe it will continue to work. This is why trust is one of the most important foundations of money. If people lose confidence in a currency, its purchasing power and value can decline rapidly. Money is therefore not simply paper. It is a promise supported by an entire economic system. Chapter 4. Currencies, central banks, and interest rates. Why doesn't the entire world use one currency? Different countries have different economies. They have different levels of productivity, inflation, interest rates, trade patterns, government policies, and economic conditions. Because of these differences, countries may need different monetary policies. This is where central banks become important. Central banks can influence interest rates, monetary conditions, financial stability, liquidity, foreign exchange reserves, and price stability. Interest rates are one of their most powerful tools. When interest rates rise, borrowing becomes more expensive. Businesses may delay investment, and consumers may reduce borrowing and spending. This can help slow demand and control inflation. But very high interest rates can also weaken economic growth. When interest rates fall, borrowing becomes cheaper. Businesses may invest more, consumers may spend more, and economic activity can increase. But if spending grows too quickly, inflationary pressure can increase. This creates a difficult balance. Interest rates can help control inflation, but they can also influence economic growth. Chapter 5. Inflation: Why Prices Rise. Inflation means the general level of prices is increasing over time. Imagine a basket of everyday products costs $100. Later, the same basket costs $110. The purchasing power of $100 has declined. Inflation does not mean every product becomes more expensive at the same rate. Some prices may rise quickly. Others may rise slowly. Some may even fall. Inflation refers to the overall trend in prices. There are several possible causes. Demand pull inflation. People and businesses want to buy more than the economy can produce at that moment. Demand rises faster than supply, and prices can increase. Cost push inflation. The cost of producing goods increases. Energy, raw materials, transportation, or labor may become more expensive. Businesses may then pass some of these costs to consumers. Money and credit conditions. Rapid expansion of money and credit can also contribute to inflation when demand grows faster than the economy can sustainably supply. High inflation can reduce people's purchasing power. If prices rise faster than wages, people may feel poorer even when their income has not changed. That is why price stability is an important economic goal. Chapter 6. Strong versus weak currency. An exchange rate tells us how much one currency is worth relative to another. Currencies constantly change in value because they are traded in global financial markets. Many factors can influence a currency, including interest rates, inflation, economic growth, political stability, trade, and investor confidence. A strong currency generally means it has appreciated relative to another currency. A strong currency can make imports cheaper. Foreign products, raw materials, machinery, and travel may become less expensive. But there can also be a disadvantage. A strong currency can make a country's exports more expensive for foreign buyers. A weak currency generally means it has depreciated relative to another currency. This can make exports more competitive and potentially encourage tourism. But imports become more expensive. Energy, technology, machinery, and foreign products may cost more. This can also contribute to inflation. However, remember, a strong currency does not automatically mean a strong economy. A country's economic strength also depends on productivity, growth, employment, real wages, trade, investment, financial stability, and political stability. Chapter 7. Money and International Trade. Currency values are extremely important for international trade. Imagine a company in the United States wants to buy a machine from Japan. If the dollar becomes stronger against the yen, the machine may become cheaper in dollar terms. This can encourage imports. But if the dollar becomes weaker against the yen, Japanese products may become more expensive for American buyers. At the same time, American products may become cheaper for Japanese buyers. This creates a general relationship. Strong currency, cheaper imports, potentially harder exports. Weak currency, more expensive imports, potentially easier exports. But the real world is more complicated. Many businesses depend on imported components, energy, raw materials, and technology. So a weaker currency may help exporters while also increasing their production costs. Governments and central banks can influence currency conditions through interest rate policy, monetary policy, foreign exchange intervention, reserves, and other economic policies. However, they cannot always control exchange rates perfectly. Chapter 8. Money is not wealth. One of the most important things to understand is, money is not the same as wealth. Imagine an economy produces 1 million products and has $1 million available to purchase them. Now imagine the amount of money increases dramatically, but production remains roughly the same. There is now more money competing for roughly the same amount of goods. If spending increases substantially, prices may rise. The country did not automatically become richer. It simply created more units of money. Real wealth comes from what a society can actually produce. Think about factories, farms, technology, infrastructure, education, skilled workers, energy, businesses, scientific knowledge, and natural resources. These things create real economic value. Imagine one country has enormous amounts of money, but very little production. Another country has less money but produces huge amounts of food, technology, machinery, energy, and services. Which country is truly richer? You cannot answer simply by counting money. The better question is, what can that money actually buy? Chapter 9. The bigger picture, money, trust, and the economy. Money connects almost everything in an economy. When interest rates change, borrowing changes. When borrowing changes, investment changes. When investment changes, production and employment can change. When inflation changes, purchasing power changes. When exchange rates change, imports and exports change. And when confidence changes, investment flows can change. The economy is a massive network connecting consumers, businesses, banks, governments, central banks, international markets. A decision in one part of this system can eventually affect people thousands of miles away. And behind the entire system is something extremely important: trust. People accept a currency because they believe other people will accept it tomorrow. Businesses accept it because they expect suppliers and employees to accept it. Investors hold it because they trust the country's institutions and economic system. When that trust is strong, money can function smoothly. When that trust disappears, a currency can become unstable. So perhaps the most important lesson is this: money is not wealth. Money is a tool for measuring and exchanging wealth. Real wealth comes from the goods and services a society can produce, the productivity of its people, the technology it develops, and the businesses and resources it builds. Understanding money means understanding much more than finance. It means understanding how the modern economy, and much of the world itself, works. Conclusion: money began as a solution to the problems of barter. It evolved from commodities to coins, from coins to paper, and eventually into modern fiat currencies. Today, money depends heavily on trust. Central banks use monetary policy and interest rates to influence economic conditions. Inflation affects purchasing power. Exchange rates influence imports, exports, and international trade. Strong and weak currencies each have advantages and disadvantages. And governments cannot simply create unlimited money to make society richer. Because in the end, money is only a tool. Real wealth comes from what people and economies can produce. And behind every successful monetary system is something even more valuable than paper or numbers: trust. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who wants to understand money and the economy better. See you in the next video.